welcome back to Team Spirit with your hosts, Emily
and Carrie.
Today, Lauren is not with us. She's currently driving to or from Pittsburgh.
I think from at this point.
Okay, so from Pittsburgh. Hey, Lauren, we miss you. So today, it's just going to be me and Care Bear, and I'm going to be asking Care Bear a series of questions that, if you have been listening, I have once answered and Lauren has once answered. So, you ready to get started?
It's Get to Know a Care Bear Day.
Yep, pretty much.
And I've only heard these questions once, so it'll be interesting to see how I answer them on the fly.
Alrighty. So question number 1. What version of a potato would you be and why?
So we did pre-discuss this one. And I think that if I were to be a mashed potato, I would be a mashed potato with all the fixings, with the bacon and the cheddar and the sour cream and the chives and the salt and the pepper. Emily said because I have really good taste.
Yes. It's so true.
But I feel like I'm a mashed potato with all the fixings because I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. I don't shy away from a mess. And I feel like they're the best of all the potatoes. Sounds so cocky.
So true.
It's not meant to be cocky. It's just if I had to pick a potato, I would want to be the best tasting potato.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh my god, it's hilarious.
And you could add things to gravy, butter,
everything.
Anything.
Yeah. What doesn't taste good with a potato?
Right?
A mashed potato.
Right?
Do you like dunk your meat in potatoes?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They act great as dips.
They do.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Now we're getting into the hard ones.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to have to use my brain cells. Okay.
All right. So question number 2. What is a pivotal moment that changed your life direction?
Oh my gosh. Well, I would say that losing my cousin, not last December, but the December before, was definitely one of the most tragic, but also changed my perspective on everything because he was only a couple years older than me. And he was very successful. He had an amazing family, an amazing house. He was really living like the American dream. And it was all taken away from him at the age of 35. Very shortly after his passing, so he died in December of 2022. And by May of 2023, I quit my job. I was really back into my spiritual work because I think it gave me peace and understanding. It made me feel a little bit better about, letting him go, somebody that we all loved so much. And I just realized in that moment that I'm only Carrie once, and I could not keep living the same mundane day in and day out routine where I was only seeing my kids for a couple hours a day after work. I hardly ever got to see them in the morning before I left for work. And I was really living to work. And I didn't even really appreciate, I didn't really even like my job.
Right.
I always felt like I was pouring way more into it than what I was getting out. And with him passing, like my brain chemistry literally changed. And I just couldn't continue on like that. I knew I had to start living my life for myself and for my family, and things happened a lot quicker than I really was planning because the plan was always to eventually do the spiritual work.
Yeah.
But I think because of his passing, it just put me in a whole different direction way quicker. So I would say I can think of a few things that really changed my life, but that was probably the most impactful, was losing him.
Yeah. And didn't you say he came to you in a dream?
Yeah, 2 days after he passed, he came to me in a dream, and it was very like telepathic type of a visitation dream. There wasn't a whole lot of talking, but the one thing I remember is that he presented me with a key, and I knew that key meant that I was going to be some sort of bridge between the 3D and the spiritual realm. And we have had a lot of death in our family, so there's a lot of loved ones for us on the other side. And it was kind of like, in a way, him being like, somebody's gotta
Right.
Somebody's got to do it. And that was, yeah, I remember that. That was really powerful.
That was really cool.
Yeah, it was.
So here's another one. What is one thing you love about yourself?
Okay. What do I love about myself? I would say that what I love about myself is that I really try to always be loyal. I feel like I'm a very loyal person, and I really think that I'm a great partner and a great friend and a daughter and a mother. My relationships in my life are really important to me, and I think I do a really good job of holding those relationships. And also, just I think that I'm able to connect with people really well, and I've always been able to do that. And to just kind of, even if I don't fully understand what somebody's going through, I can really feel it. Even if I don't understand it, I can feel it, which allows me to be that, whatever that is for that person. Yeah, I would say those two things.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree. I mean, newsflash, you're my best friend, so there's a trillion things I love about you, but you really do make it a point to keep our friendship strong despite having, a husband and kids and a house to take care of and your business. You really do make that a priority. And this is no shade to people that have kids. Like I absolutely get it that time escapes you.
Yeah.
But I have never felt like you didn't have enough time for me.
Right.
So
Yeah, I try to prioritize the people that mean the most to me.
yeah, and
I really
it
do.
really does show.
Thank you.
Thank you. So what do you believe sets you apart from others?
That's a hard question.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard talking about
I
myself.
know.
What sets me apart from others? I feel like one thing, and I think we can both say this about ourselves pretty equally, is that I'm not afraid to take a risk. I'm not afraid to do something that absolutely terrifies me.
Mhm.
I feel like I've done that for most of my life, even going back to childhood where I rode horses, and I always was like more of an anxious rider. I was always the kid that was more timid, but I always pushed myself to do it. And with each one of those pushes, I always felt like even the smallest expansion within myself.
Mhm.
It always boosted my confidence. And even though, like, regardless if it was a new job that I was terrified I wasn't qualified for, or taking my horse cross country and like wondering what that's going to look like, and am I going to be able to stay on her, I've always pushed myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that I stand out, because I don't, even though I'm terrified or I'm literally gagging from nerves, I show up,
Yeah.
and I do it anyway. And the imposter syndrome, my whole life has always been there, but I feel like I'm able to really fight that feeling.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Not
would say that.
not many people can just quit their job
Yeah,
to do something they love.
yeah,
I mean, that takes a
yeah.
lot of courage and bravery.
Yeah, and if you're wanting to quit your job to pursue something you love, there's always going to be jobs.
Yes.
And the way
Yes.
that I looked at it was, when I'm looking back on my life and I'm 70, 80 years old, if I'm that lucky to make it to 70 or 80, and I didn't do this, that is a regret that I would have.
Yeah.
Whereas if even if I'm looking back at age 80 and it epically failed, I would never regret doing
it, right.
and trying
Right.
and giving it my best shot.
Right.
So I always looked at it from that perspective. And if it does epically fail, we are always in control.
Mhm.
So even if one door closes, I really do believe that other doors will open, that other opportunities will come, where maybe you thought that this was the way, but life is always changing and shifting, and our
Yeah.
perception is always changing and shifting. So what you might think may be for you right now might not be what's for you 10 years from now. And I think just keeping an open mind and kind of working to go with the flow, which is very hard for me.
Mhm.
Very hard for me because I like control, but you're always going to get to where you're meant to be. It's just a matter of the road you take to get there.
Right. Right.
And I really believe that.
Absolutely. Me too.
Yeah. And if you put your heart and soul into something and it makes you feel good, even if it lasts 1 or 2, 3 years, you're never going to regret that.
No, absolutely not. Completely agree.
Yeah.
So now we're kind of getting into what you do.
Okay.
So this question is, what is a complex trend or topic in your field that you can simplify for others?
Mediumship. Is that what you talked about?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to do something different?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, here's what I'm gonna say. What I do, everything about it is the most simple but complex thing. There is nothing that I don't do that isn't simple but equally complex. And here's why it can become complex is because we make it complex.
Yes.
So whether that's, you're doing a psychic reading for somebody, or you're doing a mediumship reading for somebody, or you're doing a card reading for somebody, or a records reading for somebody, it doesn't really matter. It's all equally hard if you make it hard.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is like for me, mediumship is where I have the most blocks. Mediumship is where I feel the most insecure. Mediumship is where I overthink because I want to make sure that I'm showing up for the person that's getting the reading. And there's a lot of like opinions about mediumship and how it should be done and the evidence that should be coming through and how that evidence is delivered and how the message is delivered and are you delivering a message. And it's like everybody has these opinions when you're in this work, like all these other working professionals have opinions, and I have opinions too, but I don't like project my opinions on other people, and I respect how, as long as you're doing it ethically with integrity, then I think it's fine. But that's where I get on my own way. So it's complex because I make it complex. And I think that can be really anything you do in life.
Yeah.
It's really as easy or as hard as you make it.
Right.
And I tend to make things a lot harder for myself, where I blow it up to be this really big, scary thing that I'm afraid of or that I can't meet up to. And then, of course, it's in your psyche and that's how you're perceiving it. So, of course, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be hard. Every time you do it, it's going to be hard.
Right.
Because you told yourself it's hard.
Right. Exactly.
I hope that answered the question, but.
Well, is there anything in your line of work now that you do that like you thought it was some way and it turns out it's
mediumship
another way?
Yeah. We've joked about it before, but before I started developing my abilities, I always thought that with mediumship they would just kind of show up and you would see them in full form and you would just be able to have this conversation. and I will say, like, I think that there's mediums that are really good at making it seem like that's how it is. And I think it's beautiful the way that they do it. I'm not knocking it, but it depends on the medium and it depends on the abilities that you're using.
Yeah.
So there's multiple clairs. There's your clairaudience, which is to hear, your clairsentience, which is to feel, your claircognizance, which is to know, and your clairvoyance, which is to see. So there may be mediums out there that are very clairaudient and it's coming through more as like a conversation. But for me, it's more clairvoyant. So I'm seeing a lot and I'm feeling a lot. And I'm kind of like, so it doesn't come through that way. But I think the mediums that I knew before I became one myself, it was more of like that conversation.
Yes.
So I literally thought that that's how it was going to be. But really, all mediumship is a blending of energy. So I am energy, our physical body is energy, their spirit is energy, and our two energies are blending together. And then I kind of get a sense or a knowing, or I see like what was the essence of that person, what were things that they liked, what were hobbies, and then it's up to me just to kind of say what I'm getting and not interpreting that.
Right.
But I really truly thought that somebody would just appear and be like, hi.
Right.
Yeah.
I did too.
My name's Todd and blah, blah. This is when I died and this is how I died. And that's my Aunt Sue that you're talking to.
Right.
Like, it's not like that at all. It's not. It's like a game of charades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much. It's like kind of like interpreting another language.
It is. It definitely is.
So this kind of segues into the next question. What advice do you have for others that want to pursue what you're doing?
Yeah, I think that if you're really wanting to tap into your abilities and develop them, I think that in my experience, the best way to do that is to find a really great mentor that you align with, that you can take classes with, and also a practice circle that you feel really comfortable. Because there's really not, there's different techniques when it comes to the work that we do, but the abilities already exist within you. It's already something that's there, and it's just a matter of finding your own flow. And I think a mentor who has experience and who has, trials and tribulations of different ways of doing it, and they get to know your energy and they can help you through those obstacles because maybe they tried that before and it didn't work. And I think that you can absolutely be self-taught and be an incredible medium or an incredible psychic or both. But for me, having that one-on-one like interaction and having that practice, I feel like I was able to get to where I wanted to be a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Versus, reading or listening to a podcast or something like that.
Right.
But I think it's individual. And I think it's up to how you learn, and you have to go off of how you learn.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, do you have any unpopular opinions?
I have so many unpopular opinions. So I would say that when it comes to raising children, the whole idea around the different types of parenting, specifically gentle parenting, which I want to preface by saying that when you actually do gentle parenting correctly, so gentle parenting, I'm going to look up the definition because I feel like that will kind of help give some context to it. One momento. And then I just kind of want to explain why it chaps my ass. Okay.
We are here for it.
Yeah. Okay. Gentle parenting is a parenting approach that encourages a partnership between you and your child to make choices based on the internal willingness inside of external pressures. So that on paper sounds amazing. You want to have this partnership and this teamwork idea with your children. And I think it also has a lot to do with, allowing your children to be seen emotionally and supporting them emotionally. But I think we lost like that somewhere along the line, because what I'm seeing is that all of these individuals that are promoting gentle parenting, I think it has almost like creates a lot of insecurity with the parent. And so here's my unpopular opinion. My unpopular opinion is that it's okay to fuck up. Like sometimes you're not going to have a great day as a mom or as a dad. And sometimes you're going to be struggling with your own triggers. And sometimes it's going to be really hard for you to self-regulate. And on those days where maybe you yell at your kid or things escalate more than you would want them to, you're going to beat yourself up and you're going to feel guilty. And then nothing productive comes out of that. So I think gentle parenting puts really high expectations on the parent. And if you're a parent who has not really done the healing work internally, it's never going to align, because it's either going to turn into like very authoritative parenting or very permissive parenting. And I think what's happening is that people think with gentle parenting that they are allowing their child to express their emotion, but they're also giving into the emotion. And that's when it becomes permissive parenting, because now you're detaching and now you're shutting down and you just want it to be over. And your trigger may not be expressed in like anger. It may be expressed by you completely shutting down and just wanting it to be over. So you give the kid what they want. And somehow I think that's what a lot of people see as like gentle parenting. I really do. Like that's people that like practice gentle parenting. That's what I see. Is they reward bad behavior. And that's not what gentle parenting is. And there's some days where I use that approach. And then there's some days where like I literally cannot. And I remove myself because I am not emotionally regulated. And I know that nothing I'm about to say is going to be productive. And I know everybody's going to end up in tears. And so I put it on my partner to be like, you deal with it. Or mommy needs to lock herself in the bathroom for 2 minutes and scream. I don't know. But I think that gentle parenting it can be toxic. That was long-winded, but toxic.
That's great. What is your weirdest habit?
So, okay, I know what my weirdest habit is. I sleep with a pillow on my head. I don't know why. I think it's a comfort thing.
Mhm.
So, like, I have this little tiny green pillow that I just place on my head, like, whether or not I'm laying on my back and it's just on my face,
Uh-huh.
or if it's like on the side of my face. But I think it's a sensory thing.
Yeah.
Like, I just like to have cozy around my head.
Right.
So I sleep with a tiny green pillow right on my head.
I mean,
It works.
yeah,
I sleep like a baby.
whatever helps.
Yep.
If your life was a movie, what would the title be and who would play you?
Oh my God, that's hard. I think the title of the movie would be Flyby because I fly by the seat of my pants. And I would need somebody a little bit ADD and chaotic to play me. So who would that be?
Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence would be perfect.
I think so too.
Yeah. So
I could also see Reese Witherspoon.
Okay, I could see her too. Yeah. But I think Jennifer Lawrence because I try not to take life too seriously and she's so funny.
Yeah.
And I think for a movie called Flyby where you're flying by the seat of your
Yeah.
pants, she would be great.
Absolutely. It's a good one. So here's a more serious question.
Okay.
What impact do you hope to leave behind through your work?
Okay, this is the one. I really want to leave behind some sort of legacy, no matter how big or small, of really just having a community of people that have been doing it for a while or not long at all, or just beginning on their spiritual journey where they feel connected and they feel safe to express who they are. And with a big emphasis on really staying grounded within the practice, because I think, spirituality or religion